Importance of legalization. New York City is considered a sanctuary city because it has adopted policies that limits local enforcement cooperation with federal immigration authorities, especially the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement or ICE. These policies are designed to protect undocumented immigrants from deportation and foster an environment of trust and safety for all residents regardless of their immigration status. Education for undocumented children. Education for undocumented children refers to the right and opportunities that children who are in the United States without legal immigration status have to access public education. Regardless of their immigration status, children in the U.S. have the right to attend public schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. Healthcare for undocumented families. In New York City, healthcare access for undocumented families is relative more accessible compared to many other parts of the United States. New York has policies in place that provide various healthcare options for undocumented individuals, including children, pregnant women, and even undocumented adults in certain circumstances. Access to public assistance. Public assistance programs for health care, child care, and legal aid often extend service to undocumented families to help them stabilize for their living conditions and meet basic needs with the following programs. CDFEP's voucher, Section 8, NYCHA housing. The public assistance help these families in many ways. As I mentioned before, um, with their living condition, they provided them with shelter. In the shelters, they're being provided with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Um, while these people are in a shelter, they are assigned a case manager, which is there to guide them to learn the new things about this country and to help them with their needs and to assist them to obtain permanent housing. Um, the process to obtain permanent housing is by the public assistance. Once they obtain their social security and their employment authorization cards, they are um they qualify. When they apply, they receive cash assistance. They don't receive SNAP because it's a federal program. Um, with the cash assistance, they give them an amount of money and they become accessible for the city for voucher, and the city for vouchers help them to obtain permanent housing. The cost of undocumented families in New York City, estimated of the overall cost of undocumented families, vary, but some studies suggest that total annual cost could be in the billions. One estimated from the Immigration Policy Institute suggests that in 2017, New York City budget for supporting undocumented immigrants throughout the service like healthcare, education, and welfare was around $2 billion per year. Loca, y yo grabé, pero como que se me desapareció el video. No, mira, yo le di a Stop Video y mira cómo está. Ujú. Me salí y fue. Y ahora, de la computer. Mm, okay, okay. Yo le di a stop recording, no a stop share. Ay, Dios mío.
Importance of Legalization by Isabel Sierra Noemi Peña and Monifa Garcia Perez. What is immigration? Immigration is when individuals move from one country to another with the goal of settling either temporarily or permanently. People move to another country for many reasons, such as to find better jobs, live in better conditions, get a better education, or get away from war, persecution, or natural disasters. But immigration is controlled by law that says how people can come to a country, stay there, and work there. For legal immigration, people usually need documents like visas, work permits, or residency applications, and they have to meet certain requirements set by the government of the country they want to move to. What is illegal immigration? Illegal immigration is when entering a country without the necessary legal authorization or documentation required by the country's immigration laws. People who come to the US illegally often have to because they need to, like to find a better job or get away from dangerous situation. But because they're not following the law, they can be exploited, discriminated against, or even threatened with deportation. Pros and cons of illegal immigration in New York City. Immigrants often take jobs that citizens might avoid due to lower wages or challenging conditions, filing critical labor gaps. Many undocumented immigrants work in industries such as construction, hospitality, agriculture, and domestic services, which are vitals to New York City's economy. Despite their status, immigrants pay taxes, sell taxes, property taxes through rent, and even payroll taxes using IT numbers, even though they can't. Some of them can get social security cards. Cons of living illegally in New York City. Increased demand for public education, healthcare, and housing can strain resources, especially in a densely populated city like New York City. Increased demand for housing, especially in like overpopulated neighborhoods, to overcrowd and like raise the rent prices. The presence of undocumented individuals complicates enforcement of immigration laws and creates tension between federal and authorities. It's like saying about the sanctuary city because New York is a sanctuary city, so many immigrants cannot be taken out of New York City because they are this is a sanctuary city, so they're not gonna be able to deport all of them because of that.
Our topic is immigration. Importance of legalization. What is the Immigration Reform Act of 1986, also known as IRCA? It was a reform act signed by the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. It legalized most undocumented immigrants who entered the United States prior to January 1st, 1984. It penalized employers who knowingly hired unauthorized workers. It also established an employment verification system known as the I-9 form. It increased resources and it enforced measures at the U.S. borders. On the left, we have a picture of Ronald Reagan, who in a statement said, "I believe in the idea of amnesty for those who have put down roots and lived here, even though some time back they may have entered illegally." Legalizing immigrants will give us an economic benefit as a country. According to the graph on the left, immigrants are more likely to start small businesses than native-born due to their desire of prosperity. These businesses include restaurants, auto repair shops, beauty salons, corner stores, etc. On the right, we can see a chart that shows us a more recent study. In 2023, 44.8% of companies were funded by immigrants or their children, and they became very successful. What we propose is to make an updated IRCA for our Bronx community. Our requirements would include having lived in the Bronx before the year 2000 and currently still be a resident of the Bronx. The applicant must have no criminal record, must have references of employers to show stability, must be currently employed, and must have any type of savings. Why we should receive funds for our proposal. Today, 10.2 million undocumented immigrants are living and working in communities across the United States. On average, they have lived in this country for 16 years and are parents, grandparents, and siblings to another 10.2 million family members. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it was noted that immigrants are essential workers, as some help deliver the food and others help maintain the country's roads and buildings through hard labor. Despite playing a pivotal role in keeping the country functioning, undocumented immigrants are among the communities that was hit hardest by COVID-19 and have been continually excluded from past economic recovery efforts and aid programs, all while living under the daily threat of deportation. In our Bronx Reform Act, it would allow immigrants to properly pay taxes, which would help boost tax dollars. Continuation of why we should receive funds for our proposal. The United States is often described as a nation of immigrants. This diversity has been celebrated for its contribution to American culture through cuisine, language, and the arts, among many other influences. In our Reform Act for Bronx residents, it would allow them to pay taxes which would boost tax dollars. Being taxpayers would mean extra contribution to Medicare for retirement. This would also allow them to qualify for jobs with benefits such as health insurances, which would reduce visits to the ED in city hospitals, which lose money every year for patients that have no insurance or are underinsured. This would also make us a healthier population. Our references for this information are listed on this slide.